I dropped 135 pounds of fat in a period of 7.5 months. This is what I did. These are my experiences. I just want to convey to you the story. Anything that you do, if you're going to try to mirror or implement any of the things I did, please, I'm not a doctor. I am just a person, fat almost all of my life, very short moments of not being as fat. But it took me 7.5 months. I didn't get it fixed until I was in my early 50s. The point is, there are people out there that sell products and things trying to educate people, probably trying to do the best they can with it. Some of them have degrees after their names. Some of them are medical professionals and doctors. There's a lot of information online. This isn't meant to help you with anything really, but it's my story and what I did to work. I used fasting primarily. I can explain all the emotional stress of that. Other things I'd like to talk about is what is easier. Is it easier being fat all your life and then fixing it, in your twilight years, or is it easier to fix it early and then continue? And then what do you do if you know people that are starting to increase in their girth and diameter? And if you're paying attention to your surroundings, you'll know those people and you'll have them as being the closest people to you. And then how are you reacting to them? Are you engaging with them in such a way that only adds to the fat that's being accumulated on their body? Or do you interact with them in such a way that has nothing to do with food? I'll talk about my experiences as I went through this journey. And I suppose the most important takeaway I have from it is realizing that this isn't something that is ever going to be accomplished. This is a journey. It's just a journey that I wanted to start. It's something that I wanted to begin. And believe you me, going from a 65-inch waist to 34, 36, depending on how much I'm eating, and I can even squeak below 34 whenever, if I really want to get there. But again, part of my experience has been getting that lean is very hard, very painful, but you're going to see it all over Facebook and Instagram. And it's going to be of such a way that you're going to think that these people are in this way all the time. But if you were to look into it, you would probably find that they work to get that photogenic over a period of weeks, only to have a single photo shoot in a day, but with many different stations, many different outfits, enough content to be able to carry them through the next 3 to 6 months of maybe not being as strict with their diet so they can then enjoy themselves. If you've been obese for a long time, you don't get to enjoy yourself. You don't have to anymore. You've done it. You basically have won the contest. You've gotten where you need to be. You've had plenty of time to enjoy. If there are moments of hard and difficult and struggle, I would just suggest you go back to that time that you were sitting in front of those multiple pizzas or those massive servings of rice with all sorts of fun stuff in it. Or name your poison. Is it sugar? Is it bread? Is it fruit? We'll even talk about what I discovered about what I just said that might have kind of thrown a few of you off guard. I'm not a doctor. I'm a real estate agent. If you find help in this fat to not as fat transformation, please hit me up. If you want to send some whatever this way, I would be more than happy to accept. If you want information about further future shows, that's great. If I talk about things and there's some way I'm monetizing them, which I'm not monetizing anything, I sell houses for a living. But if something happens where I like a product and they see me using it, I will be very genuine about what my compensation part of that is. In addition, I still carry the scars, the loose skin with me from dropping that much fat. And that was going to be both visceral tissue, which is the internal organ tissue. That's that stuff choking out your heart and your lungs and your liver. That's what was happening to me. My liver and my heart and my lungs were getting choked out. So my blood pressure as a result was high. My diet was horrible and I was grazing all the time. So I was constantly eating from pretty much the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, with, of course, small breaks in there. But if I'm at the office when I was a police officer and somebody had happened to bring in donuts, I'm sure I'll see the comments below, but you know, donuts are great if you come in out of the field and there they are and they're take as many as you want. It's difficult sometimes. I'll talk about my struggles with that, with hiding in the drive-through at the local eatery after having ordered, 14 to 16 tacos and 2 large two large orders of French fries, 2 large Oreo cookie shakes, and literally just hiding in the parking lot, feeding myself. And then the destruction of the evidence, of course, because you can't have your family knowing that you're out abusing yourself in this way. So, of course, you have to strategically locate the trash receptacles that you're able to use, not the ones with the locks, because those are a pain. So you're probably not going to be behind shopping centers and supermarkets, but you probably will find some good trash cans if you dare to stop in those bus zones by the bus stop. Or you can also find some good trash cans over by College of the Canyons or in some school close to where you live. There you go. So that's how you get rid of the evidence. The smell in the car, that was more tough, but Febreze, even in real estate, I do recommend Febreze to my sellers, whether they have pet odors or not, and nothing that has a scent to it. The original Febreze is just wonderful. Not sponsoring. They're not sponsoring any of this, or I'm not getting compensation, but it really does work. Those commercials they have with the people in the trash can blindfolded with that air freshener, yeah, fantastic. So a Febreze in the car, that usually worked to weed out any other evidence that somebody might pick up if they're smelling. Absolute, total abuse, sabotaging myself. It's almost as if I was just, all I had was hesitation marks in the way of stretch out skin. Constantly harming myself in that way. Then what happened? Well, what happened was, and I'll talk about this, I actually realized that not only did I have some horrible eating habits, but I would try to go to the gym, try to lift weights. And if you see the before and after pictures, you can search for those Connor with Honor fat or Connor McIver fat. I'll post them up wherever you see this video. And if we're in touch in some way, you'll be able to see it. I'm not signing on as your coach, your helper, but you're more than welcome to watch these videos. This will be a specific series that just really talks about that thought process. Those 7 words. Have you heard this? There's this number of words. For somebody, it might be 1 word. For another person, it might be 10 words. These words pertain to an instrumental life change. A moment when you hear these words, and they are so incredibly important and valuable, it kicks off a journey like no other. You're just a few words away from your best self. How do you find your words, the words you're looking for? If I had that answer. But I will tell you, looking at it, the more that I became a reader and a listener, and the more I started shutting my mouth, when I was fat, I was the jovial, happy, Santa Claus type, always laughing, the center of attention as a fool, well, making fun of myself and me being fat. That was the fun part for me. That was where my brain was at the time. When I changed that, something else I'll talk about was not realizing that was kind of I mean, that's all I had. That's how I acted. Fat people, as far as I know and as far as I was, great personalities. You have to go above the look to be able to attract people. Some of the most engaging people I've ever met are fat people. Some of the most hidden, depressed people I've ever met are fat people. And they'll tell you they're happy. And really, realistically, I'll give you this. I know there are people that are happy. I've met people with terminal illnesses that were the bright light in the room. Whether it's the match burning brightest before the end, or it's always brightest at dawn, or whatever it may be, whatever the saying is, so valuable. So there might be people out there that are literally obese, eating themselves to death, but are continually very happy all the way to the end. And great for you. I don't want my end to be so dependent on other people, if you will. That was another one of my thought processes. I don't want to live alone, but I don't want to be in hospice if I can help it. I don't want to be in a hospital. I don't want to be dependent on medications. I don't want to be tied to having to go and get something done every month or every 2 months or 6 months or whatever it may be, referencing diabetes or dialysis. I don't want to be tied to that. Are there certain things I can't help from happening at my stage, 55? Yeah, probably. But I accept those. That was another part of my journey. That whole acceptance thing, yeah, that's a big deal. When you screw up, when I used to screw up trying to get fit, because it wasn't like I just went out and all of a sudden one day I decided, and 7.5 months later I dropped 135 pounds of fat. Getting to that 7.5 month beginning when I noticed that my failures were a lot less. My sabotage was a lot less. Me setting myself up on purpose for failure was a lot less. And the distraction at that time, and I'll talk to you about that, having people around you that either fakely support, don't support, or literally set you up on purpose for failure. Sometimes when you have folks around you, they've seen you've been trying something for many years. And of course, everybody gets tired of somebody that constantly tries it. It's like, really, you're going to try it again? You're going to do this? Kind of doesn't sound right. I mean, you're really not going to eat? That sounds silly. But once that was moved past, then it all became much more simple. 7.5 months with probably many, many months, if not years of practicing since I started to get fat in my, prior to 10 years old, 7, 8 years old. That was when there was that big craze, if you remember, if you're born in the late 60s, 69 here, where fat was the problem. So in order to strip fat out of food, from what I've read, apparently sugar is a good additive to get rid of fat. Well, they realized that fat issue, the food pyramid, all of that, at least my research, I found, it seems like that food pyramid should be upside down. There's a Family Park, I don't know, there's one of the episodes, either The Simpsons or one of those, that has the food pyramid actually being turned upside down, which is then more correct in the way you should be eating and so on. Basically, the base becomes fats and the proteins, and then you move up if that's the way that it's organized. But I've climbed down a lot of these rabbit holes, and I would love to share that. Anyway, this is what's going to be happening. You'll be able to find it on YouTube, At Home Muscle, and feel free to join, subscribe, and I would appreciate you shouting out and letting me know how it's working, and talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Connor with Honor. Be well.